Okay, well, we're excited about going to the Frisco Bowl. We've not had a player that's been there, a coach that's been there, so it's all new for us. We're getting an opportunity to play a very very good football team. They're really from the West Coast, which we don't get a chance to match up with teams of that nature very often. So it should be a great football game, and I think it'll be in a good atmosphere.
On paper, the matchup is offense, defense. They're one of the best run defense teams in the country. What is it that they do well in that regard? Why have they been so tough to get yards rushing on?
They're very complex. The defensive unit that they place on the field, they'll have three down linemen, but it's more like defensive ends that are placed sometimes where defensive tackles are, and so they'll operate out of that kind of front with a lot of linebackers, a lot of safeties in the game. So they've got a lot of speed on the football field, and then they use that speed very well in terms of blitzing, running different stunts with their line, and the combination of the blitzes and the stunts cause you an awful lot of problems because they do a lot of it, and they're very good at it. And it's a system where they've been running for so long that they're complex, but to them it's not complex. It's very easy for them to get in the defenses that they're in and utilize those stunts and not have breakdowns. And the problem we have is they've got extra time for this game, so they'll probably come up with a few more things for us.
You and Coach Long have been coaching in this game or in this sport for forever. Have you guys come across each other before? Do you guys have a prior relationship of any sort? It seems like two guys have been doing this as long as you two have. Should, I guess, somewhere.
Yeah, we really don't have any kind of ongoing relationship. There's really been limited to really no communication between us, and so got a lot of respect for him and what he's done, how long he's been in the business, and how well he's operated, and his ability to put together staffs and to mold football teams to be very very successful. And so it'll be great to get a chance to get to know him a little better and visit with him some.
You've had, again, a record-setting offensive kind of year up to this point. How do you keep that edge there? This will be 3 weeks, I think, before your last regular season game and the bowl game. And is keeping that team in rhythm a concern during these practices? How do you try to maintain what you guys have been doing so well offensively?
There's a little concern about that. I think there needs to be a balance. Obviously, you can overwork a team going into a bowl game. You can also underwork a team where you're not very sharp, you're not prepared to play a physical football game. So over the years we've tried to reach that happy medium, and when you do, you give your team your best chance. So we'll be practicing hard this week. Today will be a full padded day, and tomorrow we'll most likely have pads on again and see how it goes for Thursday and Friday. We're still piecing that together. We have finals the following week, and we need to see where our guys' finals lines up. We've already done that, and so we're piecing together the days that we'll practice next week, which will probably be no more than 3, and we'll have most of our team or at least the starters and backup players, most of those guys at our practices. It looks like next week. Although we will miss a few guys because of finals. So, that's always there's some balance there that you need to find. You gotta have some practice during that week. You can't do too much. They gotta get ready for their finals. Obviously, most guys start earlier than that, but they need to be somewhat fresh going into their finals. They're not necessarily fresh coming out of their finals. So that's always a little bit of a challenge also.
Didn't get a chance to ask you about the All-MAC awards. I didn't know if you were disappointed by any particular aspect of those honorees, whether it's Players of the Year or first team or second team things. Did you feel like any of your guys got overlooked?
I appreciate the fact that we had a fair number of guys on the All-MAC team, and we should have. Are there a few guys that you feel as a coach that get overlooked? I think the answer to that is yes. Maybe most coaches do in the conferences. But in saying that, we've got players we wouldn't trade, and I'm sure every team has some of those. I thought Nathan and AJ had special seasons, and it's always difficult to pick the top players in the MAC, and you don't play every team in the MAC, so that comes into play some. But statistically, those two had a special year. They got recognized for it in terms of first team for AJ on the All-MAC team, second team for Nathan. Again, I would not trade Nathan. I wouldn't trade anybody that was making our team on the All-MAC.
I suspect the answer to this question, but is this the kind of thing that will motivate Nathan more? Does he care? Does a couple days removed from the fact, was it already old news in terms of him and his approach?
Are you talking about
Nathan not being first team all conference or player of the year?
Yeah. I've talked to him, and he's a very down to earth guy, and he knows sometimes how things work. He believes in himself. We keep telling him how good a player he is and how great a year he's had, and to keep playing like he's been playing. And so he's, not a guy that that will show his emotions on that end of it. He just keeps plugging away, keeps working hard, keeps supplying leadership to our football team. But, when you had the kind of season he's had, sure, you've got to have some feelings about not getting some of the awards.
Coach, San Diego State has a pretty rich tradition of being able to just run the football and run the football and run the football.
Mm-hmm.
With Pete Germano being on the staff, being pretty familiar with the way San Diego State does things in the run game, do you feel that's kind of an advantage that you guys might have? Since you have no prior experience, you guys don't really have a lot of experience from the West Coast playing a team like that?
Well, I've got a lot of experience with Nebraska in terms of lining up and 22 personnel, 21 personnel, where you got a fullback in the game and everybody's coming downhill, running at you, being a very physical, very powerful football team, and that's what they are. Most teams that line up in those formations with that personnel play physical football. Not all get it accomplished. They do. They're a very, very physical football team throughout the course of it. They're linemen, fullback, running back. They all got the ability to play downhill on you, and so there can be a wear down effect if you're not careful. And so we need to make sure we're smart in what we're doing. Substitute the way we have been all year long, and we've been able to do that to keep our guys somewhat fresh on the field. And then when you play a physical football team, guess what you got to do? What?
Got to be physical.
Better play physical football back. That's right.
Coach, San Diego State allowing just 21.8 points per game. They're 25th overall in the S&P Plus Football Outsiders efficiency rankings on the defensive side. Do you feel like this is the best total defense that you're going to face all year? Are they better than that NIU squad you guys matched up with earlier in the season?
Northern Illinois is really a really good defensive football team. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
These guys I see very similar as to being a really, really good defensive football team. Obviously, after you play a team like this, you find out what it's all about and what they're all about. But going in, watching film, I've got no doubts that they're a very physical football team that will attack you and try to beat you up and wear you down.
Does it feel like you guys have more of an advantage going in this game because this team has lost 4 of their last 5? They started 6-1 really hot, but trailed towards the end of the year. Or is new bowl season basically a month removed from the last games? Is this kind of like a new one-game type of season in this terms of matchup?
For them,
Or for you, do you approach it? Do you throw out the records from the season and just kind of say, hey, they're basically playing their own one-game season here?
yeah,
It doesn't
well, I'm not
matter from the
paying
last
too
few.
much attention to games played and how they played out. You watch enough film on a team at the end of the year like this. That's a bowl football team. You know that number one, they're a bowl football team, so they're going to be really good. Number two, you just watch from film, and when you've been in it a while, you can get a good feel for what a football team is all about. They play with excitement. They play with energy. They're fast. They're tough. So we'll get their best shot, and we'll give them our best shot, and it should be a heck of a ball game.
Game on December 19th, and last year, similar kind of scheduling, but signing day was a couple days, I think, before the bowl game last year. And this year, it's the same day. Are you guys going to have a different kind of plan for the coaching staff for how you're going to go about that? It'll be the busiest day of the year probably for you guys as coaches.
Yeah, no, it should not be a problem for us. We had a big recruiting weekend this last weekend, and most all of the guys that were signing were in on that weekend, and so we've got a lot of things confirmed on what's going to happen, and obviously you're allowed to go over with them how signing works, show them the signing papers, those kind of things. So I think there's been organization early on that's going to help us have this play out well for us on signing day.
10 bowl appearances in. Does each bowl game get a little sweeter knowing that you've continued this run, or how do you view the 10th time?
I just appreciate everyone that comes along. They're not easy to get to, and you got to have good coaches who are good on the field, who are good recruiters to get done what we've gotten done. You got to have players that grow in your system and really understand what it takes to become a good football player over the course of time at a university, and so I think we've got that in our program. I think there's enough history now to have our players understand when they come in that they're part of an organization that's going to develop them, that we're going to develop as a team, and we're going to play good football.
I'm not going to ask you specifically about injuries, Coach, but is anyone not going to participate in bowl season or the bowl game, whether it's an off-season surgery or someone holding themselves out of the game, which happens place to place now? Is there anyone that's kind of out in terms of this extra 3 weeks for you?
There are guys out because of surgery. Other than that, everybody will play, as I understand it. There's nothing hidden there or going to pop up that I foresee that will be a problem.
Would you care to say anyone who is out? Are you going to?
No, I'll just stick to what we've been doing here the last half of the season.
I'm sure you heard the news. Coach Snyder is hanging it up. I know he's a guy you went head-to-head with many times. Your thoughts on him and what it's like to now be, what the title is you just picked up, didn't you? But yeah, your thoughts on Coach Snyder and if you have any feelings about what your status is in the game of college football now.
No, I know Bill well. We've got a friendship. He's been just a great coach, a great person, one that's a highly organized guy. He leaves no stone unturned in terms of preparation and development of his players. It's no surprise that he's been able to accomplish what he's accomplished, knowing what he's all about in terms of his coaching and his knowledge of football and his ability to relate to coaches and players. It's great that he's had the career that he's had. I wish him only the best. It was hard for me to see him go because I think he's iconic in his business. He's a guy that has accomplished so much and has been so good for the game that you'd like to see a guy like that keep going on.
How do you feel about now being,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the word, but I think we all know what I'm referring to here.
Well, I really try not to think about it, unless somebody brings it up, I really give no thought to it. Everybody has a day that eventually will cause them for it to be their last game, their last year. I'm still going. Mine's down the road, but so is everybody else's career down the road. So we'll just see. I feel very good. I like what I'm doing. I really enjoy things here at Ohio University, and I got a great staff. There's a ton of people out there would like this job and would like to be part of what's going to be happening here in the future. But I just keep taking it one day at a time, one game at a time, 1 year at a time.
I know you appreciate the job here, but I don't know, does that sharpen and focus a little bit when you see things that are happening around the conference? Terry gets let go. There's a change at Central Michigan, BG, and I know you've always appreciated the job here, but does that become a little more sharp in terms when you see stuff like that pop up around your league?
Well, you get to know these guys personally, generally, when you're coaching in a league. That's the case no matter what league you're in, I think. You get to know the guys that you're coaching against, and so you draw an appreciation for many of them and what they're all about. And so, when a guy gets let go, that's it's I think difficult, especially if you know the guy's a really good coach, the guy's a really good player. Sometimes expectations are what they are, and they're not not necessarily realistic. But Terry has done a great job at Akron. They played in the conference championship last year. So it's a business that's tough. Some people make it tougher.